Sergeant Major, retired Tommy Garza. Uh, oh my gosh. It's so exciting, right? To sit and reminisce and talk about the old days and see your side of you, see your point of view on your career and tell those stories that there are to tell, you know? That's
Yeah.
what, this kind of started from. Uh, I realized my buddy, First Sergeant retired Rob Maggot, he had some kind of something going on and he couldn't remember what happened this morning, but he could still remember the old days. So I called him up and got him on camera and talked to him and tried to just reminisce about the old stories and he changed his name and stuff like that, and it just gotta feel like it was something good that we were doing. And Joe and I, Joe Benson, right? He was in Korea
Yeah.
with us, and we started this, and we're interviewing heroes like you. And sometimes it's my cousin, sometimes it's my mom, sometimes it's my Sunday school teacher, sometimes it's Sergeant Major retired Tommy Garza. Dude, you're a friggin' hero, man. You're a hero. Thanks for what you do, man. I appreciate serving with you. I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed it a lot, right? Do you remember those times back in Korea?
Yeah, we had a great time back in 2-1, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you from?
I'm from San Antonio, Texas.
Right. That's got to be a beautiful place to be from, right? That's
It is.
so historic and so many memories and history. Was it good for you growing up? Did you, are you proud to be from San Antonio and all the heritage that comes with it? You got to be, right?
Yeah, proud. I would say definitely proud of. Never bad to say I'm from San Antonio. A lot of people like to go visit there, so it's cool to be able to tell them where to go, where you had fun, stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think I don't have much to complain about it as far as growing up in San Antonio. Like it wasn't easy for my family, that's for sure. My parents worked till they became grandparents, I think. But I don't think I have too much to complain about it. My parents did everything they could for us, growing up.
How many of us were there?
There were six. There were six.
Where were you at in there?
I was right in the middle.
Do you have middle child syndrome?
I don't think so. I don't know. It depends. It depends on who you ask. Uh,
Well, were you were you a rough and tumble kid? Were you shy? Did you ask directions easily? Were you, throw the directions away, we'll figure it out as we go?
I think I've kind of always been, I guess probably shy. I've always been kind of shy, kind of, I don't want to know if timid, maybe timid, I guess. I don't really want to say timid, but probably timid. Had to, be forced to do a lot of things. I feel normal. Like I see my kids and they don't want to do the same thing. So I feel like I was just kind of normal, just didn't want to do things on my own because, I could ask my mom and dad to do it.
Right. Yeah. Isn't it neat to see how your own kids have their own unique personality, each one differently
Oh
from
my
different from
gosh.
their
Yeah.
own, and it's just interesting. Then you look back on your wants and desires, and you start to think, okay, I have some internal drive, right? I have something that's driving me that's different than the wants and likes of other people. Did you find you got along well with others?
Um, as far as like growing up, I feel like I was more of an introvert, so it wasn't like it was easy. It wasn't hard to get along with people, but it was just the hard part was for me to start talking,
Yeah.
getting to know people, because it was just if somebody doesn't want to talk to me, I've always been the guy that'll just sit there. I can be quiet by myself.
Hey, look, I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Look, Apollo Harris says, "What's good?" This is Curtis Harris, man. Look at that.
Hey,
Look
what's
at
going
that.
on, Harris?
I got his book, man. Have you seen that? He wrote a book, dude. You got to
I
check
did.
it
He
out,
sent
man.
he sent me a link, so I was able to get that ordered. I just got to. I'm in Abu Dhabi right now, so I got to wait for that thing to come in.
Abu Dhabi,
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi. That's on the other side of the world, dude.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. So, are you still in? Are you retired? Is your family over there? How are you in Abu Dhabi?
So retired and got a job with Lockheed Martin over here with I actually transferred over to THAAD now. and they were able to support and bring all of my family with me. It was kind of one of my conditions was to stay with family after the retirement. So they're here.
Amen. That
It's
is
three
so
thirty. It's
cool.
4 o'clock in the morning, so they're asleep, but they're here.
Oh, wow. Oh, so I didn't even realize that,
Yeah.
right? That is so cool. So you're in Abu Dhabi and you're working for Lockheed Martin. My dad retired from Lockheed. You know, my
Oh,
dad
okay.
worked on, he started out with the old SDI Star Wars as one of the first projects. Then he was actually on the ADATs and the linebacker
Oh, okay.
of the air defense branch. He worked on that for a while. He did the Hellfire missile program, and he sold Hellfires internationally for lots of countries using the Hellfires to blow up stuff with, not just
Yeah.
USA, you know. And my dad was the head contracts guy, right? There's those missiles will come back at us one of these days. I got a feeling. But and so he was at Lockheed at the highest levels, right? He was a I don't even know what they call them, director or a chief or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So the THAAD, dude, they just shot something for real out of the sky with it, man.
They did. They did. They did. We had 3 fires. I was actually transitioning here during one of them. They fired one before I flew in, and then like the day I flew in, like they fired, and then I landed or something like that. I can't remember the exact story, but it was the second one. Was like as soon as I got here. So
And so that's like your stuff that they're shooting and you're helping with it?
yeah, yeah, we were. I was able to do the inspections and see a lot of the stuff afterward. It was pretty cool to see because
Oh,
you know
wow. That is
first
so cool, dude.
yeah, yeah, it was pretty awesome.
All right, so tell me what did they shoot down? What happened? Tell me what happened.
Uh, there's only so much I can say,
Okay, say what
especially
you can say. Say
especially
what you
with
can
being
say.
over here.
All right.
But they had fires over from yeah, now I can't even remember. You put me on the spot.
I'm
But
sorry.
they got fired on. They started shooting at their airport the first time, and I think they had some stuff land really near the airport. I know there was news reports about it hitting the airport, but it didn't. It was just near. And but yeah, they were able to shoot it down. I think Patriot over here because we have ADAB over here. Patriot shot down some stuff as well. They shot down some debris because it's still after that hit it, it was still coming in pretty fast. So Patriot had to shoot it. But yeah, it was just I don't know the exact missile that they shot at, but it was the Houthi basically trying to come in and threaten the UAE.
So, all right. So, look, we can talk about being militant and all kinds of things all day long, but you can't ever blame a missile defender, right? You can't blame somebody that's looking up in the sky and watching out for bad guys shooting at them, right? What's
Right.
it like to be protecting those folks in real time over there? Because tomorrow they could be shooting, the next day they could be shooting. Is
As
that
a
is
it's pretty. I mean, it's cool first of all because coming first in Patriot 2003 was the last time I fired live fire type of stuff with Patriot. So that was really awesome and scary at the same time. But there was some control as far as I was a TCA back then, so it was like okay, I feel like I can handle this. Now being a civilian, it's kind of like I have to rely on these guys, and if they don't know their job, that's the scary part, especially I have family here and stuff like that. So but there's a
oh
plan. I mean, the embassy's got the plan for all the civilian, the contractors here and stuff like that. So that was comforting to the family when they finally arrived. But yeah,
so have you done the Neo practice yet? Have you done
no,
one?
they haven't. No, they haven't. They give us it really didn't start till after these fires happened, but they gave
Right.
us the cell phones, our secret phones and all that other. I have like 2 laptops that sit in the desk here that we can't touch until something happens. But they've just given us a plan so far. We haven't done any practices yet.
It is. Look, when that stuff happens, that's scary. That's scary. And so going through a couple practices ahead of time is helpful. I know in Korea when we did the Neo exercises, that that look, families. It's hard to tell a kid that this is a drill, uh, and this is real. It's hard to explain to them all of it, especially if they haven't been through a drill before, right? When
Right.
when all of a sudden it's for real the first time, it's like um, I I appreciate what you do, man. Thanks for continuing to safeguard and do what you do. You're a patriot. Tell me about, you know, did you play sports in high school and stuff, or did you stick to yourself? Were you an artist? Did you play in a band?
No, I was definitely into sports. I did football, baseball, and then I did some track events here and there.
Have you ever tried to do the long jump?
I did actually. Well, and I think the long jump. No, I did. I did that one, and I did the triple jump. I wasn't very
Oh,
good, but I did them.
I tried to do it one time, like just tried to do it, and I was like, man, I tried to pole vault one time. That didn't go very well. I was too scared. I was too
Yeah.
scared. I couldn't do it. I guess I probably could have if there was somebody there that wasn't like somebody that didn't have no clue what they were doing like me. But I think there should have been a starter pole or something.
Yeah, that one did that. I'd never tried pole. I don't think I would have tried it. So kudos to you. But yeah,
No,
our school didn't
I
have
didn't
that.
do the kudos. I didn't try it. Oh my gosh. What is it about sports that you like? You like the challenge, right?
For me, initially, it was both of my older brothers. They both played sports and were really like they had high regards. You know, had the Letterman jackets, had all kinds of trophies and stuff to look at. So it was what I grew up watching. So it's just something I always wanted to do. I wanted to be like my big brothers, and then just playing with them and stuff. It's the same thing. It's honestly, looking back, it's kind of like being in the army. Everything is time set. This is here. This is here. Listen to this guy. This guy's gonna tell you exactly what to do, how to be successful, and that's basically what it was for me. It was having that routine, and it was and then I liked hitting people when I played football, so that was always a good thing.
What was your position?
So I was a little chubbier in high school, so they put me on the line. I was the lineman. I was a guard. I was a little bit not as big as a lineman, which normally would have been. So I was a guard just so they could have me pulling and doing sprints in front of the guys running with the football. And then on defense, I was a linebacker.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Did you like offense or defense better?
I like defense. Defense was fun.
Yeah, defense is a head game, right? You're like, what are they doing? Where are they going? And then
Yeah.
when you bust up the big play, it's like you know,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, it was always fun.
Yeah.
I
Did
definitely
you?
had fun playing football.
What's your most favorite trophy or award or championship or maybe it's the most disappointing thing? Like I played quarterback for a year and like Boy Scout football, we won 0 games and I was the quarterback. I'm like
So football was my favorite period, trophy or not. I think probably I guess when I play, I guess Pop Warner is we won first place, and it was we were undefeated. It was there's only a couple of teams, and we were undefeated the entire time. So that was probably my favorite. That's kid days. And then same thing for me in high school. We had a small town, but yeah, we got like my junior year, we did really good in football, and then our senior year was like, oh, okay, we're playing the same guys that were our age, and then no, we got stomped every single game. So disappointing was probably also be football. Is like I had never been so upset in my life as when and I don't know if it was that we lost every single game or if it was that, hey, this is my last time ever playing football, and so that was the upsetting part. But yeah, I would say that was probably my most disappointing.
it's interesting. It's interesting to me how when you like stop playing sports at a certain time, like you graduate high school and you're not going to go to college and your last football game, and like it's very equitable to the last time you took off your uniform, right? It's so like it's kind of a because you have an identity. You have an identity at some level, even if it's high school, of you're number 17 and you're the linebacker and this, that, or the other. Sometimes you hang up that identity. Did you find it hard hanging up your identity as a sergeant major to retire from the Army?
Mm, yes and no. I think it took me about 2 years where I was maybe 2.5 years where I was like, you know what, it might be time for me to retire. And man, just talking about it initially, I was upset, talking to the wife about it and stuff like that. So that part was hard. I think once it came to the end, it just felt like it was right. It felt like it was time. And then, I wasn't expecting much from the unit because I literally told 5-7, CSM and the colonel, I was like, hey, I was like, I'm retiring. I don't know what I'm doing with all these plaques and coins. I don't want anything from 5'7". I would be happy with a coin, because I could add that to my collection, or something useful that I can use when I retire. And then they actually got me a pretty cool rocking chair, and it was a little bit more, I got a little bit more emotional than I had planned on, because I expected to walk in and just say, hey, thanks, and leave. And then it was, the Colonel gave me, Colonel Rockamine, he gave me this awesome speech, and started off with, you know, he took his initial words were like, hey, think back in 1999. Some of you guys were in elementary, some of you guys weren't born yet, some of you guys were, doing things in middle school. And then it was just like, Sergeant Major Garza did A, B, C. And it was just like, wow, like I hadn't really thought about that in depth, and the way he worded it, like it just caused me to think back on basically the 2-1 era, 5.52 era, all that good stuff. And it was just like, man. So yeah, that part was emotional.
Yeah. I want to get Colonel Rockamine on. He was a lieutenant of mine in Officer Basic Course. I'd love to see
Oh,
him.
okay.
He's a
And
super guy,
that guy
right?
is awesome. He's an awesome leader.
Oh yeah. He was one I'm very proud of. He's one I'm very proud of. Captain Lee and I and the whole crew, Burnley and Canada and Maxwell. It was such a great, wonderful time. What was it about joining the Army or whatever that was easy for you? Was there something when you joined the Army you like slipped right into?
Listening, just listening to people telling me what to do. It was kind of, that part was easy. Just do what I was told.
Yeah.
I didn't always do it right, but I did it.
Right. That's an interesting thing, right? Being willing to take instruction, being willing to say, okay, I'm a private, and so as long as you don't beat me up too bad, I guess I'm going to do what you make me do, and it kind of works out. We found that most of our leaders, if they were empowered, that they really did a good job, right?
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah. It's leaders that were not empowered, that felt like they were being throttled somehow, that always bucked against the system and had an issue. And it was interesting, a tough line to travel there. What was it made you join the Army?
Um, so kind of cliche, but I was kind of always knew, like since I was a kid, as young as I can remember, I knew that I was going to join the Army. My dad was served in Vietnam, so he was my hero. When as a kid, hearing his stories and the things that he did, um, so it was like kind of like, oh, I want to be like that. And then, I was always the kid that had all the GI Joes. I had my siblings still give me crap about it to this day, but like everybody shared rooms back then. And then I had my tent in my room, and then I slept with my GI Joes and all my little plastic soldiers and all that good stuff. So to me, it was kind of like I was always supposed to join the Army.
I love it. Okay, so your GI Joe squad. Which guy were you in the squad?
I was the captain.
Oh, you were the captain. Okay, good. So are you all right, so if you were going to play like a war game, would you want to play like squad level, or are you like rule the world level? What do you
Now,
like to do?
now knowing what I know, it's probably squad level. That part is fun, easy to move, type of good stuff.
Yeah, right? That would be I was looking for I think a World War II game would be fun to play, right? With pretty good physics and stuff. I think that would be cool. If you want to play a war game, I don't know. I find myself sometimes wanting to play games, right? I used to be a professional NASCAR driver, right?
Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. As on the internet, there's a professional NASCAR driver on the internet. It's an important distinction, but it's a NASCAR sanctioned. I got the little card I could show you. It was, it was 1999 when you were just joining the Army.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! So what did you join the Army to do? What was your MOS?
14 Echo. I joined for the Patriot system. I don't think they described it as the 14 Echo when I joined, but that's what I joined as.
So look, and so did you also qualify as a TCA?
Yes.
So you were a Table 12 TCA at one point, right?
Yes.
Boom, dude! I think that is just bad assery, right? You got you, a lieutenant or a captain or a warrant officer, a communications person, and you guys are in there playing. I don't even know what kind of cool game it is, right? The interface kind of quirky and it's kind of sucks, but it's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it was definitely cool at the time, especially to have, like you said, the table 12. Just people don't really get those too often, or didn't get those back then. Now it's a little bit, I'll say, different. I don't want to say easier, but it's a little different now. But yeah, table 12 back then really did mean a lot.
Yeah, right. So do you think the standards have changed about table 12 between now and then?
I don't, not the evaluating standards, but the standards as far as what you have to do. Like, there's no more a MOP 2 or MOP 4 or any of that stuff. It's,
Oh, really?
yeah, until you're in the van. But like how we used to start in MOP 4 for the March, like they don't do that anymore.
Oh, they don't even do it? Oh,
You know,
wow.
until table 12 now is kind of like a ORE type of deal.
Oh, man. So back in our day, it was a bunch of pomp and circumstance, right? It
Yes.
was a
Yeah.
dude, it was something. It was a major training event. We would train for months. You guys would do air battle week, right? Where you'd stay up late at night and fight air battles all night,
Right.
right? To just because we'd had some incidents where we had made the wrong decision. We were testing software. We were constantly upgrading. We were doing PBD 17 upgrades and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? Remember those
I
days?
sure do. Yes.
Did you ever like have a pucker factor, like you were in there and you made a wrong decision, or do you remember messing up ever?
Always, always. Just, I mean, even if you didn't mess up, there was always a pucker factor, because we just, especially, there was always, I remember it was me and Lieutenant Lewis. I think her name is Lieutenant Curran now, but, or
Yeah,
Curran, not
yeah.
Lieutenant, but yeah, she was my TCO, and she, like, it was just times like and her and I did really well as a crew, and when it was me, her, and Al Gorey, and we just, there was one time we did the table 12 and we just sat there and it was kind of like, a lull, and it was just kind of like, oh my, did we miss something? Like, did we do it or not? And it was just like, nobody, the evaluator just sits there, doesn't say anything. So it's kind of like, yeah, yeah, it's definitely that there was always a pucker factor. There was definitely always mistakes made. But the success was probably the best part, obviously. But yeah.
Oh, yeah. So what he's describing for those of you that are listening is the Patriot weapon system fights a battle that is brought to you digitally, and it brings in architectural links from other things, and you get not only your own radar's picture, but you get other feeds that come in, and you're supposed to make decisions about what to do and what to shoot and what not to shoot and what classifies this and what classifies that. And you got three individuals that are trying to figure out, and the system tries in many cases to fire automatically. It's almost like they have to override it from firing. And sometimes they have to do all these mode switches. And part of the equation is that the evaluators will make things go wrong or mess things up or cut off the link from here so your air picture suddenly got changed. And these guys and gals were learning to do the highest level decision making you could ever imagine on the fly to try to protect the Korean Peninsula from, North Korean missiles or Chinese missiles or whatever. And so when we talk about this Patriot, I would tell you, did you realize it at the time how cool it was what you were doing and what you were a part of and the decisions and things that we were making?
No, I thought it was super nerdy and I hated
No way, because
it. I
dude,
hated it.
oh no, that's like, but man, but look, the skill set
Yeah.
that you gain. Look how valuable it is right now, right? Look, you're making a life for your family. You're having adventures. You're one of the good guys' crews. You're loving it, I hope. And I think it's cool that you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning from Abu Dhabi to talk to, us here over in America. What was it about the nerdy kind of thing that suddenly you didn't like? What would have been your second choice now that you know? Would you have been an infantry ranger SF guy?
That's what I always wanted. I always wanted to do infantry, honestly. It's kind of funny. Like, my recruiter, I still have him on Facebook. He when I joined, like, so it was really weird. I was supposed to join right out of high school, and I didn't. I just decided I wanted to hang out. So I hung out for like 2 years, and then one day he calls me and he's just like, "Hey, just wanted to see how you were doing." And he was like, and I was like, "You know what?" I was like, "Nothing. Like, I'm ready to leave." And so he signed me up, got me the 14 Echo gig. And then I went to Korea, and it was just, so I say nerdy stuff. So initially, like I said, I didn't like it. It was the people, like, it just wasn't my type of crew. Was, with the 14 Echoes. Like I said, it was kind of like I grew up as a jock, so picked on the younger, smaller guys, and those are the guys that was my job, was to be that nerdy guy. And it was, so I just didn't click with the other 14 Echoes. And then uh, I'd say it was a long time before I actually was accepted it to where I was a 14 Echo and a pretty good Echo, and I kind of just ended up into it. But I never really liked being in the. I mean, I loved being in the van. Trust me, because the tangos were outside working their butts off. Back to what I was saying. Sorry. So joined the army, and then went out. My dad, I guess, met my recruiter or talked to my recruiter and told him, like, I didn't know at the time until I joined, but my dad threatened my recruiter and basically told him that he better not offer me infantry, because that would have been what I took. Because my whole life was like, I'm going to be infantry like my dad, and my dad threatened my recruiter and said, do not get him infantry. So
Wow.
it wasn't even
Wow.
offered. So
I'm sorry, this is not even on the table, Mister
yeah,
Mister
I
Garza.
even
How
asked.
about
I
that?
asked. I was like, "What about infantry?" They're like, "Oh, we don't have it. We don't have anything of it." And I was like, "You don't have availability?" I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But yeah,
Hey, Dad's got a long
yeah.
reach. So tell me a story from your dad. What did your dad tell you about his adventures?
He's got so many stories, and then he's recently, actually, I say recently, but since I was the first sergeant, I helped him get back in touch with a lot of his buddies from back then. So now they get together all the time, do the old guy get upset thing, talk about their old friends and stuff like that. But
I want to interview. Could I interview your dad? Could we work that out? That would be cool. Think about it. Just think about it. Think
yeah,
about
I'll
it.
ask him.
Yeah.
He'll do it. I'm sure he'll do it. He might do it. He's kind of like me too. He's kind of reserved too. So I don't know.
Well,
But
show him our interview, and he'll be like, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it." Because look, everybody's a hero, right? And I just think that getting these stories told while we're still healthy enough to tell them and get them on tape and get the memories out there, there's just something valuable about it, right? There's just something valuable about it. I've seen friends of mine locally, like just today, a gentleman that I'd interviewed said, "Go look at me on YouTube, check it out. Just Google." He already knew what the Google search term was. He's like, "Google this," and he was so proud, that his story was out there, and it's really neat. And so, Sergeant Major Garza, I really appreciate you being on here with me and telling me your story. It is so cool. So, what is something about the Army other than maybe your MOS that you regret? Is there any goal that you wanted to get to, or anything you really wanted to do? Did you really ever want to be the captain?
no, definitely did want to be a captain. Once I joined, I definitely did want to be a captain. The I don't regret. I mean, there's a ton of little regrets here and there as far as I get probably more along the lines of how I acted, how I reacted, stuff like that. But as far as goal wise, my initial goal when I joined the army was to do 2 years and be done with the army. And obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, no, I don't think I would change. I don't think I would change it. I think everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. So.
Yeah. Yeah. So, were you good at your first unit? Did you certify like the first time? Did they shuffle you right onto a crew, or did you
Uh,
sit back for a while?
Yeah, so I was in Korea. I was in 14 Fox Battery 143. So I got to site. I got to Korea. They let me sleep the first night, and then the next night, hey, you got to come to site and meet everybody. So I was like, oh, okay, meet everybody. And then they're like, here's your bunk. You got to stay out here and study for your table floor exam. And so, yeah, I was on a crew pretty instantly in 143. Studied for the test every day, every night until I passed it. I think it took me twice to pass it, because it was, initially it was like 100 150 questions and you had to get a 90, and then yeah, certified. I was pretty there was was very limited when I was in. So I can say I was the number one TCA, but there was only two of us. So the other guy was just, not as fast. That was pretty much it. He was, but it was just, day on, day off for about 6 to 8 months until we actually got, soldiers come into Korea back then. So
So you did at one point a real world mission in Korea as a private in a Patriot, day on, day off missions.
yep, every day for 12 months. Yeah.
And so that's something that it's just tough. It's really tough to kind of put it into kind of a thought process bubble that in the geekoid way, you are standing on the wall for a year watching out with binos, right? Every other
That's one way
day.
to look at it. That's one way.
Dude,
I've never looked at it like that. I've never looked at it like that. So yeah.
yeah, dude, you were the friggin' dude on the wall looking out. Look, both you and I know what went on in Korea and the things that going on there and all the stuff. And look, that was tough. It's tough. So one of the things that air defense specifically gets lost in is how alert we always are and have been and have to be. You never sleep. First to fire, right? That is so true. When the hits the fan, we're the ones that are first to fire because 99 to 99% of the time somebody's attacking us, right? And we're
Right.
having to begin to defend ourselves. And we're out there on the wall. So thank you, my hero, for being up there and doing that. Private, Garza on the wall, the digital geeky wall, but wall nonetheless. And look, also that Patriot radar, like if you're like some kind of a radar geek that wanted to shoot radars, that thing's not hard to find, right?
Right.
You kind of can figure out where it's at.
Yeah.
If you wanted to just fling off a harm missile at it, just for giggles. Do you remember a time as a private when you were like, forget this stuff, I'm done, I'm going to the Ville, I'm defecting, I'm getting on a plane and get out of here?
Uh, I think that was probably every day. Like I said, I never liked really, I didn't like being an echo. I hated being in the van. I mean, it was always, your face was in a book, reading up on the updates, upgrades, and then, having to get tested. And then, some officers in there watching you, what to evaluate you guys. And it was, so no, yeah, I think every day I was done with it every day.
What was after Korea? You were there for a year.
I was there for
Obviously you
about,
didn't get any trouble. Did you leave as a specialist?
no, I didn't. I was there for about 15 months.
Oh wow.
And I was because I was a private for about 3 years. I'll put it that way.
Oh, you got to tell me the private Garza stories,
Yeah.
Sergeant
So it
Major.
was I was it's like I said, I was told like, hey, you're the number one TCA, rated, ranked one of two type of thing. And it just kind of got to my head, and then I was still, I guess everybody back then used to say, oh, you still act like you're from San Antonio. And it was kind of like I got in trouble a lot. It was really dumb stuff. Like I said, there was a lot of little things that I wish I could, take back, but yeah, it was. I got 3 Article 15s in Korea. I got every Article 15 you can get in Korea in 1 year. I got, the first guy can summarize Article 15. The commander was trying to be nice and just, slap me on the hand to learn my lesson. And then I got a company grade for disrespecting my platoon sergeant. Sergeant Seneca was his name. And then the third one was I got a little bit too drunk in the Ville in Suwon and got my field grade for that. Yeah. So yeah, I was a
Sergeant
private
Major
for about
Tommy
3 years.
Garza, bad boy, bad boy, bad boy, going to come for you. Oh my gosh! So what was it like being on extra duty and stuff? Right?
It was horrible. It was
Were your
just
were your buddies messing with you, man? Because look, Korea, you can't get away. You're out there weed eating and
yeah.
doing whatever you're doing, and they're walking to chow, and it's like, "What's up, dude?" Got your little goggles on.
No, they no, they definitely didn't. I had a good group of friends, I guess, back then that, so they didn't make fun of me too much on extra duty. It was kind of like, kind of like what I guess it was kind of either one, whatever, or two, the norm for the new guy type of thing. But, and then I think when I got my field grade, there was like six of us on extra duty. So definitely nobody picked. It was kind of like we just, let's go
Uh,
clean this, and that was it. But
uh,
we knew it was kind of funny because, and now if you see some extra duty, it's kind of like it's like you said, there's not in certain places there's not something to do all the time. So you give them a couple of tasks and then okay, you're done for the night. In Korea, there was always something to do, so we had to stretch it out and like, hey, dude, we gotta you don't be doing this too fast because we're gonna be doing something else. And so yeah, it was a long tour and a couple of long nights.
oh my gosh. Wow. That is so interesting. Thanks for sharing. I love it. I love it. I love it. What was it about your platoon sergeant that you ended up like disrespecting or something? You just being a snotty? Just I've been that kind
Yeah,
of snotty before, you know.
yeah, with him it was total me. And I even after I got the article, I waited till after I got the article 15 to apologize. I told him I was like I didn't want to apologize to you during before the process because I didn't want him to think that I was trying to get out of trouble or trying to kiss his butt just for trouble. So after everything was done, then I was just like, hey, I'm really sorry. Like I know if I would have just listened to you, it would have been said and done and good to go. And then, but yeah, no, like I said, it was just me being stupid.
No,
There was a couple of other, because when you get an article, you remember you get Article 15, and then any little thing that happens between that first counseling of recommendation, everything gets added into Article 15. So there was a
oh
couple of
yeah.
other counselings, but I think that was the only one I really apologized for.
Amen. Amen. I hear you. I hear you. It's look, you show up in a new place with a new skill set and a lot of testosterone filled males want to show out a little bit or something or think that I don't know. It's just interesting, right? I had soldiers of mine that I knew who I could let be on courtesy patrol and know who I couldn't put on courtesy patrol, right? I had certain folks I'd put on courtesy patrol go down to the bill. They'd have the whole club, everybody locked up, right? It'd be like Barney Fife out there whipping them around, you know? Oh my gosh. Did uh did did you transition easily then to sergeant?
Yeah, I feel well. So once I left Korea, I think I transitioned and just changed me as completely. Like, I was trying to, be better, and trying not, it really tried hard not to get in trouble, trying to, just be better. Uh, and I felt like I was doing that. I did pretty good, I had a lot of good leaders once I got to 552 that took care of me basically and showed me what right was. And I had that before, I just didn't pay attention. But in 552, I did pay attention. I did listen. And that's where I had my platoon sergeant was Chacon was there to help me out a lot. He helped me out a lot. And then finally Sergeant Rankin came in and helped me out a lot. And then Sergeant, it was at the time Sergeant Heather Smith. She came in and she taught me. I think she probably, I would say, most effect on my army life, complete. Like, she did everything for me. Like, she taught me. She, whenever I got lippy, she wasn't, she didn't just lock, and everybody knows she's not the person to get lippy with, and she never lit me up for some reason. She would just pull me aside and be like, look, this you have to stop basically. And it took me a while to realize, like, hey, she's took considered me a friend rather than just a troop. And she, like I said, she took care of me. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have made it to sergeant. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't have made it to staff sergeant at sergeant's class, because when I got promoted to sergeant is when she moved over to Bravo, and she became first sergeant, and I was able to fill in as platoon sergeant as soon as she left. And for some crazy reason, 552 didn't get any personnel for about 3 years. So I was a platoon sergeant as the E5 and then staff sergeant for about 3 years.
Yeah. So that's where I came in. You know, I took over Bravo Battery from Heather when she
Right.
left, and and so I got to know you first as as a young platoon sergeant, and we were making manning rosters for going to Korea. You know, because we knew at the time that we were going back, and I knew what was happening, and we were choosing up. Man, you were a hot commodity, dude. You were hot. You know, Heather builds you as up and coming. She didn't bill you as troubled, troubled private. She was like, this is the horse. You got to ride this horse right here, and we
Yeah, she
did.
took care of me.
Yeah, we and I thought we took care of you. What you weren't you in Delta Battery?
Yes, yeah, I was in Charlie when we were in 552, and then when we transitioned to 2-1, I moved over to Delta.
Yeah,
It was,
yeah. You were in. Gosh, what's his name? First sergeant Mike Medina.
yeah, it was Medina was the first sergeant, and Andrade was my platoon sergeant.
Oh my gosh, right? I mean, come on, Studley McStuds, right there.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
it was a pretty good crew, pretty good battery.
Oh yeah,
I
oh
think the only
yeah,
ones that gave us a run for our money was Bravo, hating
oh yeah.
y'all back then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We know who was top dogs up there. We know. It was Bravo and Delta. And we
Yeah,
were head to head, and me and Medina, we were me and Medina were buddies and very competitive too. And so it was a blast. And so of course me and Medina would sit around and smoke cigars and drink scotch and brag about our platoon sergeants how good they were and our squad leaders how good they were. You know how guys are, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
we had dream teams back then. We had dream teams back then. Who is somebody you're proud of from back then? Maybe that you mentored. Was there somebody that you brought along with you?
Man, there were so many. I don't even know if they're still in anymore. But yeah, I had a Sergeant Shaw was a good one. I had like I had the best squad, ever. I didn't have to do much, but it was awesome. I had a squad of like 10 people, because they gave me the Juliets and then they gave me the Echoes, so I could make sure that the guys in the van were training. But there were so many guys that I mentored back then. I didn't realize it was mentoring, but so many guys that I mentored back then that did well and continued service. A lot of them continued service. A lot of them got out, but I would probably say Sergeant Shaw, like he changed a lot. He was a grumpy private like the way I was, and then became a successful Sergeant E5. I think he was promotable, but then he finally got out. But he's with the Border Patrol now.
So if you had one chance, right? You had one chance to do this, and you could pick one thing, and you were going to run back home to your dad, right? And say, "Dad, look, Dad, look, Dad, look." What would it be? What event would it point to? Is it a trophy? Is it a medal? Is it an award? Is it a family member? What would you run back to your dad and say, "Look, look, look"? Is there something?
It would probably be my retirement certificate. I think his entire goal for us was to be successful, and when I joined the army, he wanted me to retire. So I think it'd probably be my certificate.
No CIB, right?
Yeah, no CIB.
Oh, so that's great, right? That you can, fulfill those dreams that maybe your dad would be proud of you about. And I know I'm proud of you. I was always impressed with your no nonsenseness. You you were when you were in uniform, your beret was on, you were standing tall and looking good, you were doing what you were supposed to do. But yet when you took the uniform off and we were hanging out at the NCO club, you were also able to let your hair down appropriately and interact with everybody in a great way. And that was something that a lot of echoes couldn't do, right? A lot of the echoes, when it came social time, they would slink off somewhere else and not really, be around everybody. Was there did you find it easy to socialize as an NCO as you got up in the ranks?
As an NCO, yeah, but I think most of it had to do with the leaders that I had, and it was because as a young NCO, I would hang out with Sergeant Smith and Lieutenant Lewis at the time, Sergeant Rankin, and then when I was a staff sergeant, sergeant first class, it was when I had you guys, you Medina, Andrade, and stuff like that, the guys that taught me how to one let your hair down and two not go too crazy when you let your hair down because there were
Yeah.
obviously those times that happened as well. But hanging out with you guys is probably what showed me how to do it right.
It was just magical times back then. Magical times. Was there a time your second tour in Korea where, where you were like, this is way better this time than the last?
I think from the get it was better than the last. It had the staff sergeant barracks and the different treatment and yeah, so everything was definitely better.
Oh, that's right, the Staff Sergeant Barracks. Man, that
Yeah.
was that was talk about a group of cool people, right? That were over there, right? That y'all all hanging out together. You had King and Lucero and I don't know who else was over there in that little y'all right next to the mess hall. Yeah, it was
Yeah, it was
just
right.
crazy. All the
There was a
cool,
bunch of we had all. It was just well, it was us and just or I say us, but it was Delta and Bravo and CO. So it wasn't
yeah.
too many people, but it was all people that we actually knew and got along with. And then Crabtree was there. Crabtree was a good one to have. He was a good one to talk smack to and have if you wanted somebody to talk shit to, Crabtree was there.
Oh my
So
gosh,
yeah,
Crabtree, dude. I love that guy, man. I love that guy. So one of the things that I always thought that they should do with the Camo folks and the TCAs is provide pro pay. I think that but to be a certified TCA in a Patriot battery or a Dad battery or whatever should come with friggin' pro pay, just like flight pay, in my opinion. No doubt. No doubt. So just sign me up for friggin' saying that, okay? Because that ain't no joke, man. It ain't no joke. And dude, I used to pray and when we were getting ready to table 12 that my 14 echoes. I had a couple of 14 echoes that could come up hot on them friggin' piss test every once in a while. You want to make sure that stuff don't happen, man. That'll ruin your battery. What happened? Something muted. You muted somehow. Uh,
okay, sorry.
there we go.
Yeah,
No problem.
no, I was saying they always do it at the wrong time too. I had one echo like right before our deployment. He pissed hot, so I had to do a whole crew replacement before we deployed.
Oh yeah, yeah. You can't. Oh my gosh, so crazy, so crazy. Yeah, it's amazing what a DUI or piss hot or any kind of incident will do to crew readiness, and it's like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's why I think you provide pro pay for those folks that are table 12. You get table 12 certified in the van, you get pro pay, and that'll keep you in certification. You start getting that little milk money for being certified, you'd be like, yeah, I'm certified. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
certified.
that could
Think
work.
about it.
That would work.
Yeah, think about it. So transitioning to THAAD now, working on THAAD, is that a cool system?
Yeah, so I did that for a little bit when I was, well, not really, I didn't do it, but I was at 32nd for a year, and I was the 32nd lead for Thad with Chief Fallon at the time, and I was his NCOIC, worked op orders and getting stuff done. Baby, I was a pencil pusher. I really hated that, but pencil pusher for Thad, and watching the Thad system and watching those soldiers work, and I was part of their first live fire in Hawaii, so couldn't complain about seeing a live fire, and definitely couldn't complain about being in Hawaii for 3 months on the
Oh
Army's
wow.
dime to
Yeah.
watch this live fire go off. So that interests me. And then at the time I was considering getting out early retirement or just getting out at the time, and it was so getting to know the civilians back then, it was just kind of like I had a huge interest in Thad back then, but then I got promoted. I couldn't, and nobody would let me go back to Thad. It was always about Patriot. So, when I got the point of contact to work with Lockheed with that, it was a fairly simple transition and a fairly simple like, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And so, but watching these guys and working on the system now, it's different. I've had to learn a lot, and I'm still learning. I mean, it's a Patriot. You learn every single day. So Thad, here I am learning it brand new, and still learning every day. So it is it's a huge transition, but it's been fun so far.
I'm telling you, nobody truly understands the technological uh, prowess that it takes to be an air defender these days. If you're willing to work in the van, work on the electronics, but the ones that get me are the ones that are willing to fight the air battle. To get in there and actually fight the air battle, it takes guts. It ain't no joke. It is a skill set that changes moment by moment, and you have all these interconnectivity. That is
Yeah,
so cool. It is crazy the the fidelity of the information that is provided. Right? Look,
right.
we track Santa Claus at NORAD. I've seen it, right? My colonel's been on there, Colonel Boyer, talking about where Santa Claus is going. So if they can see Santa Claus, they can see everything, and put steel on target. This hypersonic stuff is kind of crazy, dude.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow, it is kind of crazy. It is absolutely crazy. What was it like? Did you ever spend any time as a first sergeant?
I did. I did 3 years with Charlie 143.
3 years as a first sergeant. I love it. I
Three
love
years,
it.
one battery.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Did y'all get your
Thank you.
table
Thank you.
12?
No, we did not do table 12. I don't think we even tried for table 12 because it was nonstop when I got there. We were supposed to get ready for a deployment, and then the deployment got canceled. So it was like the whole first year we're getting ready to deploy, and then deployment got canceled. Then they're like, okay, we're going on this deployment. So then we had another year of getting ready for the next deployment, and then we were just deployed. So it was no, we never tried for a table 12, but I feel like we definitely had the crews to do a table 12. I mean, and I had the trainers in my battery to do a table 12,
Amen.
but yeah, they didn't do it.
Yeah. It's well, like we said before, it's like a ghost out there. If you're table 12 certified, old school, that ain't no joke. It takes a lot of training time, and you got to really have a um a command that wants you table 12.
Yeah.
And we I was so that's like one of my biggest high points in my career, was table 12. And as a Patriot Battery first sergeant, that's that's your team. You got, as a SHORAD guy, you all go off in different directions, and you're looking at the sky individually, and you're working with other people. But when you're a first sergeant in a Patriot Battery, there's your team. You look at
Yeah.
them everywhere. You don't leave them. That's your guys and gals, and you'll be saluting at the memorial service. You're birthing babies. You're promoting leaders. And
Yeah.
that's where the rubber meets the road. Do you remember having good times as a first sergeant or tough times? Tell me about that.
Tough times, definitely. Especially the first 3 months. I thought, hey, I can do this. I'm a first sergeant, and I tripped over myself. I don't know how many times. So probably about maybe 3 to 6 months, I'd say I finally got it down. And it was and I'd say all the times were probably the best times. Aside from those first couple months, getting my feet wet and getting used to it, and then and you can probably understand. Yeah, I know you can understand this, but losing, I lost a soldier while I was a first sergeant, and that was probably one of the worst times ever. Is Private Lopez, finding out that he wasn't coming to formation, and then having to do that memorial service, and that was definitely the worst time. And then second would probably be learning how to be a first sergeant. But I would say from beginning to end, getting to know all the soldiers, and learning to be what a first sergeant should be, and then being that first sergeant is definitely the best. I think Charlie 143 was my best time in the Army, being a first sergeant. Like, there's no other. I did not want to be a sergeant major after leaving Charlie, so I think
Yeah.
that was my best time.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, I stole my guide on right there,
I
Bravo
see
two
it.
one. I was like that was right before we moved. I secreted a one away so that I made sure I never had it. I always had it. We only had one table 12 streamer though, and that went to my commander, and she's got it, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the team that we had, and the proud of the team that you had, and we had characters around us, right? We had folks that were unique and interesting and exciting, and we did just really cool things over there. And tell me about being a first sergeant. Was it did you did you find it easy to maneuver your folks and get them headed in the right direction, or were you herding cats a lot of times?
I think initially I was hurting cats. I had I I improved, or my battery improved, to a point. Like, we were expected to be, a rear D battery, and we were expected to be, like the worst battery. That's where they were going to send all the transitions, people coming in, people, ETS and all that good stuff, and that was going to be for me to manage. But for some strange reason, we ended up being one of the best batteries, in the unit, and then actually earned the best, unit streamer. So that was pretty awesome for me. But the soldiers that I had, and watching them grow and wanting to, be the number one battery, that's like I said, that was like the best of times. I don't remember the question. Too sorry,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Don't ever challenge an underdog, right? Don't ever
yeah,
challenge an underdog, not
definitely,
in the army, because they'll
yeah.
stand up, right? You got teams and you get cohesive and you can do it. You can do it all, we talked about the memorial service, and I did 3 as a first sergeant, and it brings up a lot of interesting things. I don't believe that there's any atheist in the foxhole. I just don't. What is it about your spirituality that you could share?
My spirituality.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I've kind of so I grew up as a Catholic, so I was really strict on a lot of beliefs and not knowing. And I think since growing up and I've seen the chaplain, seen other religions, stuff like that. It's kind of I consider myself more of a Christian than a Catholic now. But yeah, no, I think that kind of played a big role into that once. I've only had to do one more service, so and I hated it. So I can't believe you had to do 3. But having to do that one, uh, it didn't. I really had to, believe in my, spirituality and lean on it a lot during that time. And there's times, I mean, where I still think about it, and it sucks. But especially going, like when I was in 5.7 as sergeant major, I didn't have to do it. I just kind of watched it. There was another memorial service, and it just played back and flashbacks, I guess, if you will, into my situation. And it was like I had to talk to some people. I had to sit and talk to the wife because it was just like she helped me through the first time. So when I started having those feelings and having those thoughts again, I had to talk to her because it's a pretty bad situation. I know you know that, but it was just thinking about it still, it just it sucked and it hurts, but it happened.
It is. I had 2 automobile accidents and a suicide, and they were spread out at different times in different places, and those kinds of things. You realize that there's times that you're the one that has to be strong, and you're the one that has to be there, and you have a role and a mission to play, and you can't quite grieve maybe when everybody else is grieving. You have to kind of grieve on your own in your own way. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Brag on your kids for me a little bit and your family, if you don't mind.
Man, I have 3 daughters. The first one, the older one, is Caroline. She was born in 2010. She's awesome. She doesn't live here. She lives in San Antonio with her mom, and she's an awesome kid. Around me. I just put it this way. Around me, she's very reserved, like me. She's very timid. It's been difficult for us, just because I've been gone, since she was a baby, deployed, and she's in San Antonio, so never been able to be stationed in San Antonio. So I think from the time she turned 2, I was deployed here to Abu Dhabi, and I was here for 2 years at the time. And I thought, oh, she won't, she's 2, it won't affect her, and it really did. It did affect her. I think the FaceTime has changed a lot, so her and I get along way better now than we did before. She just finished school for I think 4th grade. She's gonna curse me out if I said that wrong, but I think 4th grade she just finished. So showing off for that, and she's always done well in school, and she tries her hardest. That's for sure. I think the part she hated was the homeschool part during this COVID mix up, but she did really well with it. And then here with me, I have 2 daughters. I have McKenna. She's 7. Total opposite of me. She's a total extrovert, total people person. She has to be around people. It doesn't matter who it is. If you came over, you would be in her toy room playing with her toys and talking to her about her stuff, because that's how she just talks to anybody, and she talks about everything. So she's great at everything. She loves doing gymnastics. She loves dancing. And when I'm doing my little workouts in the gym upstairs, she's got to be there with me. And then the little one, Ava, she's 2, and she is probably just like me. She is so quiet. Well, she's quiet around people. If somebody comes around, she's shuts off. She won't smile. She won't talk to them. She won't do anything. And if you hit that nerve, she's mad at every single person in the room, and that's her. But yeah, all three are pretty awesome. Uh, my wife, Milani, we've been married since 2013. I actually married her when I was deployed here. I went back home for about a month and we got married and, had some, did our thing and then came back here. I think she ended up living here with me for about 3 months the first time. And then she hasn't left my side since then. But yeah,
Yay.
she's awesome speech pathologist and she works with kids, adults. She works with anybody. And she's done well for me. If it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you about being a sergeant major.
Amen. Amen. It's neat how a good woman will cage you up real good, and
Definitely,
keep you in between your left and right limits, right?
definitely, yeah.
uh, it's a very very interesting thing, the effect that ladies have on us as males. Tell me about working out and regimen, dude. You look like you freaking got some guns up there, man. It's a gun show in the frame.
uh, I just always, I've honestly always loved, like I said, I played football in high school, so I always loved for working out, loved throwing weights around. There was times where I stopped and I thought I was buff at the time, but I realized looking back, like man, I was pretty fat back then as a soldier. Like Harris saw me when I was in my chubbier days and stuff. So it took a lot, and it took a lot of learning to change how I look and how I present. I think it was probably when I became an NCO, and then two, Heather Smith again. She was able to teach me and help me to stay fit and get fit and stop being borderline, because I was always like, oh, I could pass tape, and then I just had to stop being that way where I knew I just didn't have to be taped anymore. It was just kind of like whatever.
Wow. So it's amazing how all it takes is one influential leader that picks you, right? Picks you to mentor. Um, that can change somebody from a bad route to a very good route. And Heather Smith picked you. That's so cool. Because let me tell you, if you've got Heather Smith teaching you something, you got somebody good teaching you something.
Yeah,
She
definitely.
is amazing, right? Is amazing. What other amazing leaders were you around in the military? Was there any others that just stood out?
There's so many. I mean, I told you I worked for Sergeant Andrade. He was always looked at as a good NCO, and he was really a great NCO. He helped me out, throughout my life, with personal matters, stuff like that. But I mean, starting off, I mean, my first sergeant, or first sergeant, when after basic and AIT, was First Sergeant Simmons, and she took care of me. With me being in trouble in Korea and stuff like that, she took care of me like crazy. You had Sergeant Major Pritchard, Sergeant Major Clem, obviously Smith, the Youngs. I say the Youngs, but you have, Sergeant Major Lucius Young, Sergeant Major Scott Young. They were both, Scott Young, when he was a sergeant first class, he knew I hated him. I even probably told him that I hated him, because he was there for the Korea incidents, and then when I came to 552, he was there again, and he would always bring up Korea, and I hated him for it, because it was just like, I don't want people to know what I did. I don't want people to know this, but his reminders just kind of kept me pushing forward and kept me driving. And then he became our first sergeant, and he was an awesome first sergeant. And then as I had him as a sergeant major, he was great as a sergeant major. Like I've had so many great leaders, Sergeant Major Roland, the Belks, and they probably don't know it, but like you had the lieutenants, that were always great. I had Lieutenant Hyder, Lieutenant Lewis, who's Curran now. I don't know how to say her last name. And then Pedrosa. I don't know if that's still her last name, but Pedrosa was one of the ones that was pretty awesome. There's so many other ones, but influential that names that I could still remember. Is Those are the ones. And then Sergeant Major Smith, like she was there. I'm telling you, she was there she met me as a specialist, and she's been there probably for every promotion. And if she wasn't there for every promotion, she was calling me calling me to say, hey, you made the sergeant first class list, or hey, you made the master sergeant list, or hey, you made it, great job. And she's always been there. She was there at my wedding. Like she's been part of my life probably since the day we met.
Um, Leaders are important to our military and our organizations in general. And thank you for being a leader. Thank you for standing on, you know, even after your Article 15, you're back on shift, right? Doing what you have to do. And that's a wild thing to think about. That uh, did they pull you off of the watch when you were on extra duty?
No. So
You
I
were
would
still
have
on a
to,
crew. You were
yeah.
still on a
So I would have
crew.
to do my van thing and then go do my extra duty.
Oh
And then if
my
I was
god.
on shift, I would go back to the van after my extra duty.
Oh my gosh, man! It doesn't pay to mess up around there. I tell you what.
No.
Oh my gosh, no thanks, no thanks. So what was it that like one day I was in a meeting back at Fort Hood, and I just like, oh, I'm no more of this. I'm signing. I'm filling out my retirement paperwork, and what was it similar to you? Was it like a thing, or was it a gradual kind of a family decision?
So honestly, since I got married to Milani, I was ready to get out. Like it was just, because I was always, as a younger soldier, I was always like looking for a deployment, and I was trying to go SF, I was trying to go Ranger, I was trying to do all kinds of things. Then when I met my wife, it was just kind of like, okay, I think I can stay home. And then when we had kids, it was definitely totally different. I hated leaving them. Uh, I Ava hasn't had to experience me deploying, but I left for a couple months here and there, and she hated it. She absolutely hated it, and so did I. So I think the kids definitely changed it. But I think so. Probably when I was starting first class, I think I was kind of already like, I could, be a civilian. And then as a first sergeant, had a blast with being a first sergeant, and then it was kind of like I don't. There was really nothing else I wanted to do. Like I felt like after being a first sergeant, like there was, I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish there, and there was nothing else. So I think then is when I was ready to retire. But I was only at 16 years in the Army, so I had to keep going. And then when I got selected for sergeant major, you get locked in for at least 5 6 years, because you got to wait for your school date, get your school date, then you wait to get promoted, and then you promote, and then you owe the Army more time. So it took all that, but I think I've been ready. I think definitely by the time I dropped my paperwork, it was definitely my time. But yeah, it
What year
was
did
a
you
slow process.
retire?
I was out in December on leave,
Uh huh.
but on I guess April 30th of this year was my actual retirement date.
Oh, like a month ago.
Yeah, I just retired.
Oh, gone, dude. Man, the starch is still fresh in them BDUs.
Yeah,
What was
yes.
your favorite uniform?
The BDUs.
Yeah,
BDUs.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, I mean, the new ones are all right. The summer ones are really comfortable, but the BDUs are always my favorite. I think you could come to work and you can tell who was professional and ready to work at the same time.
Oh man, we spent so much time shining boots and pressing uniforms. It
Yeah.
was, it was wild. It was wild. The amount of time we spent on our appearance, in addition to the things we had to do for our regular job and stuff. You didn't. That was one of the things about being in the Army. You didn't come to work half stepping, or you gonna get clowned about it, right? You
Yeah.
either you either did what you were supposed to do and pulled your weight as a team, or your buddy was just gonna clown you.
Yep.
Did you have a time where you got clowned over something?
Uh, Probably a lot of times, but I think probably one of the biggest ones is my haircut. So I was always
I did that
I
one
I
time.
I never I would always have a haircut, and then there was just like this one time like I forgot, and it was like I was a 4 day weekend, and I came in. Heather Smith was a platoon sergeant, and I was like, you know what? There's no way I'm getting. So I came to formation and totally bicked my hair. I had no hair whatsoever, and that was how I didn't get in trouble, but definitely got heckled about it for a little bit.
Oh my gosh. I did that. I went in AIT. I forgot to get a haircut on weekend pass, or when I got there, it was too late, or whatever it was. Anyway, I showed up without a haircut. So I had my buddy take my electric razor and try to give me a haircut with it. It was not good. It was not good. I got the nickname Fuzzy Wuzzy the next day. The next day. If you could go back I think you've kind of already said it, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. If you could go back and relive any one year or one time again, what would it be?
Like relick, like change.
I don't know. Whatever. You can change it. You can do it the same. You can just live it over again. Just I
If
don't
I if I
know.
if I could do anything over again, it'd probably be my first starting time. That was that was the best. Like it's you have so much control. Being that first sergeant of that unit. Especially if you have a great team. And I feel like I had the best team that I could have had, and it was I would go back and be a first sergeant for Charlie 143 any day.
Amen. Amen. I totally get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. If uh if you could change one thing, is there anything you would change or could change, or I don't know that I even it's not even fair to ask that question sometimes, you know.
There's probably a lot of things that I would change, but I think I never wanted to be a sergeant major, and so being an ops sergeant major was really horrible for me because there's nobody tells you this, but there's no as a first sergeant to me it was all about buy-in. You have this idea, this is what I want to do, and you get everybody to buy in, and then that's how you get the team to go in. As a sergeant S3 sergeant major, there was no. I tried so hard to have that buy-in and try to use that first sergeant mentality, and it did not work because you have no buy-in from any if because as soon as you say something they're going to run to the CSM and say, hey, what about this? And then if CSM isn't tracking what you're doing, it's or doesn't like the idea, it just changes it. So it was, I think if I could change it, I just wouldn't have been, I would have ended as a first sergeant. Like it was kind of like leaving in first place. It would have been as a first sergeant.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, that's kind of where I was at. They were changing some of the rules about how long it took to get picked up, and
Hmm.
I was at 22 years, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to be a battalion sergeant major with 28 years in the army, and which was what it would be with the rules the way it was, and I went out and you know did something else. It was fun. I'm here with Tommy Garza, everybody. I want to show. Look at this. My buddy, my hero over at County Road Customs, does etching on canteen cups, right? So there's our logo on a canteen cup. I got one for me and one for Joe. And we're going to get a coin with a serial number on it, and then a thumb drive with our interview. I
Oh,
can't
that's
do a
awesome.
slideshow for you. You got like 6 pictures on Facebook. I'm like, and a titanium thumb drive, which our interview will go on, and you'll have a memory that your grandkids and
That's awesome.
and
Thank you.
and they'll have an interview done, and I got my Papa Woodall here. I wish I had an interview with him. He was a hog farmer, and but I appreciate you hanging out with me, man. I really do. I
Yeah.
was wondering and maybe we don't have to sign off now, but in a little while, you can, call your pretend old unit to attention and then, sign out. That would be cool, right? Battery attention. You'd probably wake up your kids and everybody, but you could do it kind of quiet. And so tell me about Abu Dhabi, dude. Where are you at? Are you in a single wide on the edge of the desert or something, or are you in this big mansion of a part of a
No,
castle?
no, they give us pretty good allowance for housing here. So I got a 4 bedroom villa here in Abu Dhabi. I'm not on the beach. There were some on the beach, but they didn't have enough storage space. So we moved from here from Germany, and my wife likes to collect things, like this dumb thing right here. Um, she likes to collect big furniture. So we came from Germany with a lot of big furniture, so we had to get a pretty
Trunks and
good
stuff.
storage. Yeah, so it's
So
pretty
you're
good
not
size
live
home.
in a villa. How does the
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi people live? Do you have a car? Do you drive on the wrong side of the road? Is there a park down the road? Can you go to the liquor store?
So they have nice cars here. I think they have a ton of Teslas. A Mercedes is probably the cheapest car you'll see on the road here, driven by them. But yeah, no, they have a ton of money for cars and stuff like that. But they drive normal, a normal side of the road. The driving has improved. Like I said, I was here in 2013, 2014 time frame, and the driving was horrible. Like my wife was. terrified to drive here this time because she remembered the driving the last time. But the driving has changed, so that, they're pretty. It's there's nothing to complain about. Liquor stores, so you have to find. You can order online, like you can order online, they'll deliver it to you and stuff like that. But they don't have, like, there's no bars here except for at the hotel. Like if you go to a hotel, then you can find a bar. So they don't really drink here. So it's not easy to find liquor stores, but you can find them here and there. They have special stores because they don't eat pork for their religion, so you have to find a special store, and then in that store they have like a hidden room, and it's called the non-Muslim room, and that's where you find the good bacon and bologna and stuff like that.
No way. You
Yeah.
gotta it's like going to the old video huts and going to the porn room, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You gotta go to the what do you call it? The non-Muslim
The
area.
non-Muslim, yeah, that's what it's called, non-Muslim room, and then they have, that's where I get my pork ribs and all that good stuff because you can't find it anywhere.
Oh wow. So do you look around and see who's watching when you go in?
It's funny that you mentioned it, but yeah, so it's funny because as everybody walks in, you'll see them look over their shoulder and then walk in. So, but yeah.
Do you do you look Muslim a little bit, or are you ever confused for a Muslim?
Yes, yes. There's been a couple of times they'll come and start talking to me, and I'm just like, "Do you speak English?" And then they'll start talking. They'll apologize, and then we'll start talking from there. But yeah, I've been confused a couple, especially leaving when I leave their military post. They come to the car to start talking to me, and then they see when I rolled out my window, they're like, "Oh, okay," and then they kind of just wave me off because they don't want to talk to me anymore. So yeah,
Oh,
it's happened a
I
couple of times.
I keep a recorder on, right, and a translator, because they're liable to walk up to you and say, they're liable to walk up to you and say something in secret, and you don't. I mean, come on, you don't know, right?
I don't think they do the secret thing. It's the MPs. It's pretty crazy. It's not like their Air Force doesn't guard themselves. They actually have the MPs the way we were supposed to have the MPs all the time. They
Right,
actually
right.
have them there. So
Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. They're like, oh, okay, come on in, come on,
pretty much.
come on in. Oh, I got you. Come on in. Oh my gosh. So, uh, what's the next? You think your guy's gonna fire next week? Yeah, y'all have what's kind of crazy stuff happening, or I mean, look. This is a world asset you're playing with, right?
So expectation wise, no, they're kind of it's it's crazy. So if you or if we were deployed and you found out your unit had fired on a calm night or something like that, you would have been at work like 3 o'clock in the morning after, right as soon as they fired, right? But I got to work at 7, and they're like, and then they come in the office and they're like, hey, we need you to check this launcher. So I'm like, okay, what happened? And they're like, oh, we fired. So I was like, what do you mean you fired? Like they were just like, yeah, we fired. So yeah, no, they expectation wise, no, they're just like, no, we're not expecting anything. So expectation wise, we know, it's like I said, that's the hard part. Like we don't know, but as far as the unit is tracking, they're not expecting anything. It's just a normal day, normal weekend coming up, and
Everybody's just like, dude, what? Oh.
yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
Hey, Bob, get another cup of coffee over there. Hey, Garza's coming in the morning. Have him check that missile launcher out. Make sure everything looks good. I think we shot that thing down. Get another cup of coffee over here.
That was exactly how it was. It was like they didn't tell us anything. We had to come in, and then they were like, "Oh, we need you to check the launchers," and it was like, "What?" And so yeah, that was how we found out.
So, did the missile and everything work like it was supposed to? Did you have to make major repairs to the launcher? Did you get fault code F14 and crazy or
No,
anything?
so no, it did work. Like I said, they had three days they had to fire, and and it worked all 3 times. I think only one missile self-destructed because they didn't need it, and then another one. No, that was it. It was just one self-destructed. That was pretty much it. And then that was it. And then as far as inspecting the lawn, everything was normal. It was a big hole in the ground, but other than that, it was good to go.
Oh, wow. Cool. That is so cool. We're here with Tommy Garza, everybody, on the, you know, forefront of missile defense. deployed or not deployed, employed in Abu Dhabi. Yeah, by one of our evil defense contractors. So I think we're warmongers, man. Do you think we're warmongers too? I
I do
love you, man.
not. I do not. uh,
Oh, I
I've
love
been
it.
reading. I've been reading your post, and I don't. I don't like. I don't like, I guess, digital confrontation. I'll put it that way.
Oh
So,
yeah, oh yeah.
and I think a lot of it gets turned into that because I read all your comments and I read the threads, and a lot of times I read it and it's just like, you didn't have to come off like that. You could just say this, and I know you read it that way because I read how you respond, and you start with "I love you, man," and then you say whatever your point is. So I think that I don't agree with all of your statements. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. And a lot of it, that's why I like an essay, right? I do, this is an essay, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I believe it. Maybe I don't. Maybe it's part of it. Maybe I don't know. But it's easy to, like, that was something that I learned. I've tried to constantly teach myself things, right? I took a master class on how to write. And, I found that I like to do essays. A lot of people like to do poems. Some people write novels. I like to just, an essay in my mind can be like 2 sentences, or it could be like, I don't know. And so that's kind of one of the ways that I try to do this. This was an inspiration for mine, a book, Show Your Work. You look around and you're like, why isn't anybody, responding to me, or nobody cares about me? Well, they don't know. They don't know who you are. But I bet you read a few of my essays, you know who I am, and you think either he's a crackpot or, whatever. But that's part of what Show Your Work was about. So that's something that has influenced me a lot. What things influence you? What do you hang out with? What do you read? What do you take in? Like, I listen to Rogan as much as I can. If Rogan's having somebody on, I try to listen to it. If I don't listen to his MMA shows. I don't listen to all the comedians, but if he's having a scientist on, I try to listen to him. What
I
things
listen.
do you digest?
I listen to some of Joe Rogan stuff. I listen to a lot of if I'm driving around, I listen to a lot of so I used to go to this church in El Paso, the Abundant Life, and so we don't have that one here. So I listen to a lot of their stuff, and or they have a not a I don't want to say a live podcast, but they do a lot of the recording stuff. So I usually listen to a lot of their relationship stuff because it's not just your spouse relationship they talk about relationships with everything. So I listen to a lot of that. As far as reading goes, I don't really read too much, but other than the school stuff, or if it's for work, trying to get some new certifications, things like that. But as far as what keeps me going is I would say my family. They everything I do is trying to be an example. As an NCO, you learn you have to be an example, you have to be a good example, this and that. I think when I had my kids is when I learned that I needed to be a good example. It wasn't the NCO thing because I thought I was a good example all the time initially. It took a long time for me to be humbled. And then when I had my kids, it was kind of like, okay, now I'm ready to be, a good example for not only what they would need to do, what they want to do, but for who I have all girls. So I'm trying to set them up and, show them who they need to be married to, stuff like that. And hopefully I feel like I'm setting up a little bit too much because, McKenna, we were at the hotel, because we got here and we had to find the house. So we're in the hotel, and here the service is like, if you come here, you feel like a king no matter where you go. So my daughter, if I opened the door for her when we got to the hotel, she would yell at me because she wanted those guys. Because those guys come to there, they open her door, they hold her hand, and she walks out, and she's like, I feel like a princess when I come there. And it's just like, poor guy to the one that marries her because, oh my gosh.
Amen. Amen. I love it. I love it. Joe Benson says, well said. So yeah, let's end it tonight with that. Why don't you think about, if you don't mind, calling us to attention, even if it's quietly, and salute
Man,
and give us a sign out. Can you do
you're
that,
gonna get
First
me in
Sergeant?
trouble. All right. Baked Hinge. Coastal 7 signing out.
Oh, amen. I love it. I love it. Thanks, Sergeant Major. I appreciate it,
Thank
man. I
you.
had
Thank you
a
so much.
blast. It's
Thanks,
been
Joe.
wonderful.
I'll
Amen.
tell
Amen.
you of his grace and how it was I fell. But some tales are just too dark.